It's the radio guy, Mike Prince. Welcome to another live performance right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. It is Sports Report Live. A special guest for you on today. We're here, of course, from Johnny Football Cole. He'll be our first slotted guest. We'll also hear from Charles Edmond, voice of the Alcorn State Braves. They got things taken care of over the course of the weekend, depending on who you ask. But they still will be the one representing the Southwestern Athletic Conference in a couple of weeks in Atlanta, Georgia. They'll take on North Carolina A&T Aggies. In that game, we got to talk a little bit about the FCS playoffs, the NFL playoffs as they're unfolding right now into the early parts of the third quarter. The Los Angeles Rams on top of the Seattle Seahawks by the score of 21-3. And as we made mention, it was a lot to do. And of course, we always have a short time to get her done. So we'll go right into, I guess the main thing would have to be the Bayou Classic. And we'll be talking about this quite often on today.
You are in RP mode. The battery level is at 46%. The magnification is set to 2.
Oh man, I got a little device talking to me.
To 97%.
But it's all
The volume
good.
is set to 13. The
It's
brightness is
telling
set
me
to
I have to
15.
wear these special goggles. Some of you may or may not be aware. Legally blind, and every now and then I have to get some apparatus devices to help me see what I need to see, and it was just going off, and that's what happens when you go live sometime. But it's, as they say, it's all good. As we were talking, the SWAC championship game went down to the wire. Alcorn victorious by the score of 39-24. A lot of turnovers in this game. Some crazy, wacky plays that happened from the beginning. And it was just some of everything that you could imagine in this game. But as a result, Alcorn are the last men standing within the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And the games will begin. The FCS playoffs, but I was way off on one. Mammoth got blown out of the water by James Madison. I know that James Madison was one of the favorites to be at the FCS championship in Frisco, but I thought with the run game that Mammoth had, they would have put up a better fight, but there goes that theory out of the window. And speaking of theories out of the window, the Pittsburgh Steelers, big win today over the Arizona Cardinals. The Patriots losing to Kansas City. And the Ravens taking care of the Buffalo Bills. The Saints are heartbroken this evening. I know my brother Brown, Carlos Brown, he is just through right about now. He had a rough weekend on Saturday with Southern losing. And then the way the Saints lost today, I know he's not a happy camper right now, so I'm going to give him, as they say, a little time to get some things together. But I was sitting up thinking, going back to the Patriots, and I know that Tom Brady has accomplished a lot of things, and some consider him the greatest of all time. And I cannot deny what he has gained and what he's achieved. But I can't call him the greatest quarterback of all time. There are a couple of quarterbacks who I would prefer over Brady. I think Brady has always been a quality managing quarterback, and he's a great benefactor of the Belichick system. I think that's one of the reasons that Brady was insistent upon Garoppolo getting out of town, because Garoppolo has the same skill set, if not better, at least a younger version. And Brady didn't want him hanging around, because the moment Brady would slip, he knew that he would get the chance to take over the Patriot dynasty. That's just my little observation. We'll talk about that probably a little bit later on throughout the course of the week on the Mike Prince Show. Of course, the Mike Prince Show comes to you each and every day. 10 a.m. is the projected times, Monday through Friday. Of course, the Carlos Brown Show comes to you on Saturdays from 10 to 12 noon on Saturdays, as we just mentioned. And the Sports Report Live comes to you 9 p.m. live on Sunday nights. We're going to take us a break, and we'll come back with our first guest, Johnny Football Cole, to get tonight's show up and running. You're listening to the Open Mic Broadcast Network and the Sports Report Live. We'll take a break, and we'll be right back. Are you one of the many Americans that deal with the effects of diabetes? Diva Skin Conditioner could be the remedy that you need. Diva Skin Conditioner is a formulation that was designed with you in mind. Diva Skin Conditioner comes with a money-back guarantee. That's how confident they are in their product. For more information, visit divafeet.com. That's D-I-V-A-H, feet.com. Or you can speak with a representative by dialing 903-270-0026. Let's face it, from time to time, we'll have a need for an attorney, whether it's the case of a DUI, DWI, or any other circumstances that would find you on the other side of the law. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, located at 1047 Austin Street, is the one to call. Attorney Lee Van Richardson and his staff are equipped to help you get through your legal battles. Attorney Lee Van Richardson, 979-826-8008 in Hempstead, Texas.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
And welcome back to the Sports Report Live. Mike Prince here with you. Of course, we're coming to you live by way of the Open Mic Broadcast Network, and we talked about it at the top of the show opening up about the SWAC championship game. An intriguing game. A lot of turnovers for a championship game, but someone had to win. Alcorn was the last man standing. And here to give us an insight and a crack breakdown on that performance, we're going to hear now from Johnny Football Cole. Coach, how you doing tonight, sir?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. How you doing?
Man, I'm great, man. It was a huge weekend of football. It's going to be established in the FBS. The FCS playoffs is ranking up. But what we want to focus on right now was the SWAC championship game. What's your assessment of everything that unfolded, Coach?
Well, I tell you what, Southern came out to play, but they kept shooting themselves in the foot, and playing a good Coach McNair team, you just can't do that, And when you turn the ball over 6 times, 9 times out of 10, that's the only stat that counts. But when you look at the numbers, they had 419 yards of total offense, 27 first downs. They ran the ball well, 251 yards. They did everything that I would say it's a win, except but that one stat, 6 turnovers. They
right.
gave that one too, and that's the game. I can't say enough about the game plan, and Coach Chennis Berry done a great job offensively, but You got to be able to hold on to that ball.
You've got to be able. And how hard is this? Now you've been in this position. You've coached. You've had success. And when you look at the paper, if you remove the score and just looking at the stats on how everything was going, rushing yards, passing yards, time of possession, and you would think just at glance that Southern won this game hands down. But to see that on the opposite end, how does that hit you as a coach?
You know, and I'm sure Coach had his kids ready, but I think the Southern kids, it seems like they were pressing themselves, trying to get that open, that extra yard, trying to get that pass in that window. And I think they were just pressing, you know, because there's so much pressure on Southern, because they've been there so many times, that I think the mental aspect that everybody was trying to make a play. And sometimes you got to focus on possessions, one play at a time, you know, not being a superstar, you know what I mean, doing my job and winning as a team. And when you look at that, you know, a lot of these turnovers and stuff it seems like the kids were pressing themselves.
Okay, well, and I can see that. Is that something that you feel, or is that something that you're seeing from the sideline, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. You know, and you can tell with your team preparation leading up to the game, you know, are they loose? Are they too loose? You know, and just as a coach, you got to know the character of your team, and you got to address those issues and make the adjustments on the move, because there's no tomorrow.
Right. And as a result, there is no tomorrow for Southern. I think Coach Odoms is an outstanding coach. I think he does a great job on and off the field. And your heart goes out for this guy. Of course, he's under immense pressure to win, just like any head coach is. You know, they hire you to win games. And we know it's about graduation, but the bottom line is to win games. And then some people will get to the point where you have to win the right games. And if you're not winning the right games, that's just as bad as going 0-11.
Yes, sir, no question. And, you know, at Southern University, with their fans are great. And, you know, every time I look at the box score and try to find something else, there's nothing else. Besides it, that's the biggest stat. That's the biggest difference. That Southern didn't win. I mean, they had more time of possession by 10 minutes, more first downs. They rushed the ball like a winning championship team's supposed to. You know, but you just can't turn the ball over.
6 turnovers in one event. That's enough to make you want to pull your hair out, man, and just go run and scream, "Stop the madness! Stop the madness!" You know, 1 or 2, you know, it's kind of, we know turnovers are part of the game, but it's just certain things, man, that you can't climb your way out of, no matter how hard you fight, and that ends up being the case. Now, on the flip side of things, Alcorn created some of those turnovers, and so you have to give them the credit for their part of it as well. And they benefited, not necessarily benefited, but they took advantage of the opportunities afforded to them. And you look at them, how do you feel confident-wise with Alcorn heading to represent the Southwestern Athletic Conference against North Carolina A&T, as far as them having a legitimate modified chance of winning that game?
Well, I don't think A&T is the team they used to be. You know, and you know, they don't have that kid that's playing with Chicago Bears, Cohen, and they did lose to, I think, either Delaware State, one of the worst teams in the conference, and a perennial loser. So they're not the A&T that was underneath Broadway, not taking anything from Coach Washington. So they're very beatable. And you know, I once again, when I look at that stat with Alcorn, you know, in the 3 phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams, And Alcorn, once again on special teams, as well as we got scores on defense. So they scored when they had to and how they had to win that football game.
Okay.
So we're just looking forward to them to go back to the drawing board, Coach McNair, and whatever they were slowing their offense down, they'll make some adjustments. And I feel pretty good. Maybe we can get over the hump. The SWAC can get over the hump by beating the MEAC in the bowl game.
Right. Well, the SWAC is down. I want to say 3-1. Grambling the only one with the win, and of course it was over North Carolina A&T. It's going to be a very physical game. I stated about a week or so ago that with all the rest that North Carolina A&T has, they probably had a slight advantage, but that also could be a disadvantage too. Not seeing live action for a couple of weeks too, huh, Coach?
Oh yeah. You just got to go in there once again and prepare your team, and again, the tables turned down. Now Alcorn is going back to this game again, and they feel good about being there, I'm pretty sure, and they want to win it, and not only want to win it just to be the Black College National Championship, is that we've been here before, and hopefully the kids, go in there with the idea that we're going to win one play at a time, 1 minute at a time. And I'm pretty sure Coach McNair have them ready.
Well, I'm pretty sure he'll have them ready as well. I'm also a big fan of McNair. He's done an outstanding job, and this is just my personal opinion. I think he had to deal with more personal abstractions and opposition from within, but he seems to always overcome that thing and rise above that thing. And no matter how they do it, they always find a way to win, and that's part of the pedigree of being a champion.
Without a doubt. I remember playing against Fred, and he was a great player, and of course you can't say enough about the McNair family and what they've meant and done for Alcorn State, and they have had some great coaches come through there, Marino Cassim, and they got a great history of football there, and they will represent the SWAC well on game day.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to probably have this next Sunday off, but as we get closer to the Sunday leading to that, no, we will be able to get together on next Sunday to give that projection of what they'll be. I don't want you to give it to me right now. I want you to kind of mull it over and do the tail of the tape, if you would, so we can try to find out exactly who, what, when, where, and how. Now, just a little bit, I know we mostly talk about the college and the NCAA and the FCS ranking. Were you able to keep up with any of the FBS as far as the championship games and the 4 playoff berth teams?
Well,
hello? Uh-oh, did we lose you, Coach? We're live right now with Coach Johnny Cole, and it sounds as if we may have lost him.
Coach.
Okay, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I was asking about the FBS playoffs, and are you liking the way things are sizing up, and did you get a chance to keep up with any of that over the weekend?
Well, yeah, I'm Ohio man. I'm a Buckeye at heart, and I seen that game, and that was a tough game. And Ohio State ended up being Ohio State in the second half and shutting Wisconsin down to win that one. And, that was a great contest. And of course, the Georgia and Clemson, the little bit of the game that was, Clemson jumped all over them.
Oh, you mean the Georgia and LSU game?
I'm sorry. Yeah, Georgia LSU game. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right.
I'm sorry. And the little bit of game that was, and of course, I'm thinking Clemson too. They kind of walked through Virginia as well.
Well, Clemson has been, to my surprise, the dark horse. No one has made much fuss about Clemson. You're hearing about LSU. Of course, they're having a fantastic year. You're hearing about Ohio State. But Clemson said, hey, don't forget the big dog here. And with the work that Oklahoma has put in, and I know I could appear to be biased or whatever, do you believe that Jalen Hurts has put in enough work to be the Heisman winner?
I think he have. Not only just on the field, just being able to transfer from one school to the next in 1 year.
Right.
In 1 year, take them to the Final Four.
Right.
I mean, that's saying a lot, and he's put that team on his back, but the kid from LSU is, he has those horses around him.
He does. He's
able to put them on the map as well. So, I think it'll come down to those two guys, at least if you're talking Heisman race. I think the kid at Ohio State, he struggled against Wisconsin early, and not only it knocked him from number 1 to number 2, I think it knocked him also out of the Heisman race.
Okay.
But he's young, and he'll bounce back.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Joe is a freshman. Let them two battle amongst it. Let Jalen Hurts fade into the sunset with the Heisman. And the ironic thing about that, if he is to come through and win, that would be the third consecutive Oklahoma quarterback to win the Heisman. And that's pretty amazing feat by itself.
Oh, ain't no question. And, they really are not known for, Heisman quarterbacks, but it seems like that's the place to go to, whether you transfer or stay there or transfer here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, Coach, look, man, we're pressing on time. We got to get another scheduled guest in, but you've been phenomenal throughout this year, man, and we still got another show to do next week, and hopefully everything will line up where we'll be able to get things on board, man. But I want to thank you for helping us get ready to close this first segment out.
Well, I want to thank you, Mike, for a great year this year, and, picking my brain and using my knowledge of this game. And I can't say enough about your show and the people who listen to it. And I look forward to getting in next week, and hopefully we can do this thing in the future.
Oh, man, sounds good to me, my friend. Well, look, you be good. We got an update. Last I checked, the score was 21-9. The Rams on top of the Seahawks. Somewhat of a surprise, but that's why they play the games. All right. Well, look, Coach, we're going to take us a break, and we'll be right back with more of the Sports Report Live. We'll have Charles Edmond, the voice of the Alcorn State Braves, to talk to us about the game that was at Norman, Mississippi. We'll take us a break, and we'll be right back. You listen to the Open Mic Broadcast Network, Prairie View, Texas.
Have sports, will travel. The Open Mic Broadcast Network serving student athletes from Little League, high school, and collegiate coverage right here on the Open Mic Broadcast Network. From coast to coast, from dusk till dawn. You can catch all student athletic action right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the station designed with you in mind. Serving the community through faith and athletics, the Open Mic Broadcast Network, the voice of student athletics.
I present to you 3 of the fiercest subjects ever assembled in the cage of doom. First, the brain-wrenching behemoth, Algebra 2, weighing in at a mind-boggling 800 pounds. Foreign languages! The multilingual international sensation capable of tossing you clear across the Atlantic. And finally, biology. More ferocious than formaldehyde, she'll dissect you 1 chromosome at a time. Who among you will step up to their challenge?
Yeah, I'll do it. Me too. I'm in. Sign me up.
Take on the tough classes now. You need them to prepare for college. Find out which classes you need at knowhowtogo.org.
Brought to you by the American Council on Education, Lumina Foundation for Education, and the Ad Council.
Serving the community through faith and athletics. The Open Mic Broadcast Network.
As a dad, you'll probably spend years teaching your son how to hit a baseball, how to throw a tight spiral and hit a receiver, how to spring off a diving board and hit the water, how to hit a one-wood and a 9-iron, how to hit the bullseye, how to hit the strike zone, hit a jump shot, hit the open man, hit the hockey net, and maybe the most challenging of all, how to hit the books. But the question is this: how much time will you spend teaching him what not to hit? Teach your son early and often that all violence against women is wrong. For tips on what to say, visit endabuse.org. Brought to you by the Family Violence Prevention Fund, the Waite Institute for Violence Prevention, the Ad Council, and this station.
Broadcasters come into our lives on radio and TV, bringing us information and entertainment. Broadcasters are there for us, but who is there for them when they fall on hard times? The Broadcasters Foundation of America provides financial assistance to broadcasters in acute need due to a critical illness, accident, or other serious misfortune. If you know of a broadcaster on the air or behind the scenes who may need our help, please share our message. Visit broadcastersfoundation.org.
And welcome back to the Sports Report Live, Sunday night action. Our last update, third quarter, Los Angeles Rams. I still have a hard time saying that. 21. And the other guys, I won't even call them out. No, Seattle, 9. We're not going to be joined with the voice of the Alcorn State Braves we talked about in our first segment with Johnny Football Cole. But now we'll get the guy who his voice is heard throughout the country with the bird's eye view, and that's none other than my tall radio friend, Brother Charles Edmond. How you doing this evening, sir?
Good evening, Dr. Prince. How are you?
Man, you know what? I'm good. I'm good. It's been an exciting weekend of football. And you being a big Ram fan, you ought to be enjoying yourself right about now, huh?
Well, actually, I'm not, because the Rams have had chances to put the game away, and Jared Goff's thrown 2 picks, and when you let Russell Wilson hang around, you're playing with fire. If the Rams lose this game, with Minnesota winning their game today, the Rams are in trouble. They probably have to win out if they don't win this game to make the playoffs in that 6th seed.
Well, I do understand. I've been a Steeler fan. I am somewhat pleased right about now. I'm somewhat pleased. Considering from whence we come from, I'm ecstatic, to be honest with you. 8-5, a huge win over Arizona. Now we'll have the task of taking on the Buffalo Bills at home. And I thought they had given themselves opportunities to win. They did a pretty decent job on handling Jackson, but the Ravens are the real deal, and it shall be what it shall be.
And, when you look at just a coach that's been through so much, 3 different quarterbacks, 4 different quarterbacks, Mike Tomlin, kind of like Fred McNair, next man up. I mean, and the Steelers are right there yet again, despite the fact that their big gun, Big Ben, is out for the year.
Absolutely, and what a beautiful way to segue right into our main topic, and that is Alcorn finds a way to get it done again. And you talked about the next man up, and I was just talking in the first segment. If you were to remove the score and look at the stats, there's no way that you could see how Alcorn was victorious over the Jaguars in this SWAC championship game.
Well, I would kind of vary slightly. If you look at Southern with 6 turnovers, I think that's the one stat line to me.
Right. That's what I was saying. If you didn't even look at that and just looked at the body of work, and you go like, wow.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, just like in the first meeting, the Jaguars are able to move the ball up and down the field, and yet they get in their own way. And, just when I talked about the fact, and I remember during the broadcast yesterday, Southern, one of the reasons why they won the Bayou Classic, two things. Skelton had a clean game, and Southern only had 3 penalties in the Bayou Classic, and yet those things kind of, bit Southern in the you-know-what. And, look, I mean, you can dissect that game in a lot of different ways. I thought it was some questionable decisions that Dawson Odom's made in terms of, going for 1 instead of going for 2 and trying to make it a 3-possession game. But just, untimely turnovers, Alcorn players stripping the ball. And, even though we had turnovers ourselves, let's not discount that. But the fact that Southern had so many chances in the first half, and I think we took Southern's best punches in the first half, and yet and still we were able to hang around in the game. It's just amazing that we were able to do that. And for Southern, I don't know if Alcorn is in their head or not, but this one hurts if you're a Jaguar fan. And even though I'm not, I mean, I like the Jaguar Nation. If I was a Southern fan, the way the game went down, I probably would feel the same way. My buddy Carlos Brown, he's still stinging. Here it is 24 hours after the fact. And this is one of those that's going to sit in your gut for a long, long time because Southern had every opportunity, especially in the first half. 5 straight times they were in Braves territory and just couldn't get out of their own way. Skelton looked okay at times. He had some bad turnovers. That last pass that he threw was horrid, a crossing route. You knew the defender was going to jump it. He did for a touchdown. And Southern left timeouts on the board, and they took Skelton out even though it was a 2-score game. I mean, it was still kind of a game, but nonetheless, you can, pick that apart. But there were chances that Southern has had, and Alcorn was just opportunistic when they had to be.
Now, you and I know that Jag Nation is a very unique fan base. It's a very unique fan base. And the Alcorn curse is all I can think of right now. I personally, and then to add insult to injury, the way the Saints lost today, I didn't dare even send a text to Brother Brown over this weekend. I said, I need to let this brother simmer until Tuesday or Wednesday because I know how heartbreaking this is. But do you really and truly think that there's a mental block when these guys face up against Alcorn?
I'm not going to say that. I just think it's just the matchups. I think the way the Braves run that RPO and just the schemes that they run, I think defensively they keep Skelton in the pocket. I just think what Alcorn does get under Southern's skin, and when Southern gets out of their skin, they're out of character. And when you're out of character, you're out of sync. And when you're out of sync, you're out of luck. And so I think that's kind of the big deal there, I think, as far as Alcorn and Southern are concerned. I mean, that was one thing, that was a low-hanging fruit for the Jaguars to get it, and they just didn't get it. And you don't know if you're going to have that opportunity again. I think if you just look at the conference right now on the eastern side, I mean, the Braves, 6 straight division titles, A&M's getting better. I think clearly they surpassed Jackson State as a team that's going to be a threat. And then the western side, Grambling, they're probably going to have a new offensive coordinator. Prairie View needs to improve. I think UAPB is coming on. So there's no guarantee the Jaguars or the Braves are going to get back here. I mean, not saying that, as an Alcorn broadcaster, I had a little reality to it, but there's some teams that are nipping on the Braves' heels, and you don't get to these situations every year. I mean, you got to cash in on your opportunities. The Braves have, and the last 2 years, Southern hasn't.
Well, you also got a major factor, 26 seniors making their exodus at the end of the season. That is a lot of seniors, my friend.
It is. And, if you look at the wide receiver core, we're going to be replacing quite a bit of that. Pringle, who had a big touchdown, Chris Blair, Rodarius Anderson, and then Deshaun Waller, who had been banged up with a groin injury the last few games, played some snaps and had a big run. That's the thing. So you talk about some big-time playmakers. Solomon Muhammad, who on the pitch caught that pitch and almost scored. I mean, that was another, tough play call there because Solomon Muhammad read that all the way. And, if you fake that pitch and let Solomon, overcommit, then Southern's got something. I mean, just to kind of to show you just how good he is. And that's a senior that's played his final home game. So, yes, the Braves have a lot of work to do. Very seldom are you going to get a big class like that. And there's going to be some recruiting going on. But I think considering the Braves have been so successful, I think they're going to get some quality talent in here. And it's just a matter of working them in and just being patient. Absolutely.
We're talking right now with Charles Edmond, the voice of the Alcorn State Braves and the Alcorn State Sports Network. We're a proud affiliate of you, and we do appreciate that opportunity to share the love and the support of SWAC athletics throughout the nation. Charles, when you look at this thing, you made the mention, it's no secret, this is your 6th consecutive win, and I know it never gets old, but would you say that this season was probably one of your more special achievements with the things that you had to deal with?
Yeah, I mean, every championship has its own dynamic. We were playing pretty well despite the fact we were banged up, and it started with our quarterback Noah Johnson going down. And to see Felix Harper grow up in front of our very eyes as quickly as he's grown up, that's always a challenge. Then your running back goes down, Sean Waller, he goes down. We have to shuffle our offensive line around. Our defensive line is young and thin. They had to grow up, and we had to get some depth there. Our kicker, Corey McCullough, has banged up a little bit. So, every year it's been injuries, and it's a part of the game. But this year, with Felix Harper stepping in and doing what he's done, Offensive Player of the Year in the conference, considering that he didn't even play the first 2 games of the season, and having to work him in, it just shows you it's not about the player, it's about the system. You got the right system. You just got to develop the player, and that's exactly what Pat White, the quarterback coach, has done this year with Felix Harper. So I think this year's special. I mean, we had a late season loss against Grambling, something that we hadn't had. Typically we get a loss early in the season, kind of midway point, and just kind of go from there. But that loss to Grambling kind of put a little heat on us to get it done against Alabama A&M, and we were able to do that. And then we just kind of turned the corner from there. So every year is a dynamic situation. I think the Grambling loss really woke us up late in the year, and I thought that was a turning point for us. Even though we lost the game, we were able to come back and beat A&M, win the Eastern Division title, and then win the SWAC championship. This is a second half team, Dr. Prince. We typically get it done in the second half, fourth quarter, and that was the case again in the SWAC championship game. Absolutely. We're speaking with Charles Edmond of the Alcorn Sports Network. You made the mention about Grambling, and it's always about the matchups. And I've always thought that Grambling matched up quite well against Alcorn. And in fact, I was on record for saying, of course, the right answer is to say we want to play whoever they put in front of us. But if you really were in a secret place and no one could see you, you guys probably would have preferred to play Southern due to the historical matchups. Not that you fear one over the other, but there are certain things you don't have to alter your approach too much on when it comes to having success at the bottom line. Well, if you talk to the players, and I talked to them, the last couple of weeks, and a few of them told me I'd like to see Grambling again. And I think, the bottom line is they felt like, they owed us, we owe them one, after what happened over there. So I think, clearly, the players would like to have seen Grambling. I think Grambling would have been a tougher matchup defensively, though. And I think, the way that Tiger defense comes after you, especially that front four, I think it may have been a tougher matchup. But the Bayou Classic proved that anything's possible because the Jaguars were down 21-3 against that Grambling defense and found a way in the second quarter to stay in the game, and they won the game at the end. So, I mean, who knows how it would have went, but I think the players would have liked to get another crack at Grambling. But then, on the other hand, the Jaguars wanted Alcorn because, 1-9, now 1-10 in the last 11 games against Alcorn. So, the jinx continues, the struggles continue against one team, and, there are a lot of ticked off Jaguar fans right now. I mean, some people think that Dawson Odom's, to get another deal, he's got to be able to get over the hump. He's got to win a championship. I'm not going to go that far because we've seen programs in which coaches get fired for not beating one team and they never do recover from that. If you're going to fire a coach for not winning one game of your big rival game, then you wind up starting over because a new coach is going to pretty much scrap things and start over. You don't recover from it most of the time. There are rare exceptions, but it typically doesn't happen. So I think for Southern, Dawson Owens is the man. I think the question is about the quarterback play, though. Skelton struggled. I mean, he made some good plays, yes, but he had a couple of bad throws. The one at the end, he had an interception in the end zone, a bad throw trying to squeeze it in. So you're still, you got a quarterback that's still learning there. We'll see if Skelton can improve, or will there be competition for him going into 2020?
Well, it's ironic that you would say that toward the end, I believe the last series to be exact, McDaniels ended up to finishing the game. And it was one of those you see and hear that coach is talking to Skelton on the sideline. Is he just trying to pick him up and build him for next year? Do you let him finish it out, or do you get McDaniels some experience so he can have something that he can hold his hat on to?
Well, I mean, to me, I mean, if I'm a Southern fan, of course, I mean, happy that the Braves won the game. But if you're a football fan, you got to scratch your head on a couple of things. We talked about, kicking the PAT instead of going for two to make it a 3-point game. But even though Skelton threw a horrible pick six at the end, it's still a 2-score game with 1:20 left, but Southern has all 3 timeouts.
Right.
So the way Southern had been moving the football, I mean, a couple of big plays, you get yourself in position. I mean, put yourself in position. Now, unless something happened in which Dawson Owens say, you know what, enough is enough, and Skelton's done. But in a championship game, you got to play to the very end. You got to use all those timeouts, even if you don't score. Just the fact that you use your timeouts, you try to move the ball down the field. It just seemed to me that Southern, once it was a 14-point game, that was the end of it. And I don't know what Skelton did or didn't do in order for him to be pulled after that. I mean, it was a bad pick. But if he's your quarterback, you go back to him, you throw him back in there, and let's see what he can do here with 3 timeouts. You're down 2 scores. See if he can move the ball down the field, get a touchdown, onside kick. You never know. I mean, there was still about 1:15 left in the game, and you still have all your timeouts, and yet none of that happened. So as a football fan, none less a Jaguar fan, if you're a football fan watching it, you're wondering, you just left these timeouts on the board, and you just kind of bailed out there in the last minute and change of the game where you could have possibly made something happen to make it a little more interesting.
So I don't want it to appear that I'm trying to put words in your mouth or anything like that or speak for you. You're a grown man, a tall grown man, in fact. Would it be safe to assume by hearing what you said that maybe he threw in the towel a little bit too early?
I think so. I mean, look, I'm glad that we won the game. It was a classic game. It was a terrific football game. There's no doubt about it. But, as a football fan, you want to see the fight till the end. You might not get there, but you want to, if Southern got to midfield and burned the timeouts and that's a Hail Mary or something just to make it a 1-score game, you fought to the end. And I don't know if Skelton was injured. He was talking with Dawson Owens. I saw the replay of it. Maybe just for Dawson Owens, enough was enough. Yeah, but I don't know. We don't know what the story is behind that. Maybe at Football Media Day, 2020, we'll find out what happened.
Hey, that's one of them. That's one of them that you have to keep in your back pocket, and then when everything the dust is settled, Coach, let's retract just for a moment here and see.
I'm definitely going to ask him about that. That's already on my bucket list to do for Media Day 2020.
Absolutely, brother. Because I was going like, wow, okay. Now, now when you put the emotion part in, we're speaking from a football fan's perspective, but as a Southern fan, you could probably understand possibly the echoes that we might have to turn the page on this project.
I get that, but then as I was talking to my buddy Carlos Brown, texting him this evening about that, you're kind of in no man's land. You spent a lot of collateral, you spent a lot of equity in making Skelton the guy. So all of a sudden, if you pull the rug from under them, and it's all about who gives you the best chance of winning. You know, if you go in the transfer portal or whatever the case, I understand Southern's got a couple of good quarterbacks behind Skelton. Well, there's growing pains behind that because they haven't played a lot, just like it was with Hickbottom at Grambling, and just like it is with most quarterbacks. There's a learning curve. They're going to make mistakes. And right now, if you're Southern, 2 straight years you've won the division, do you continue to stick with Skelton? You just hope and you continue to work with him and coach him up and hope he learns from all of these mistakes and he gets better and you put yourself back in this position again? Or do you open it up and best man wins? I know some people, I'm sure some Jaguar fans probably believe Skelton should probably not be the starting quarterback, but who gives you the best chance to win right now? Is it Skelton, or are you willing to experiment and willing to take a step back? You willing to blow it up? Because that's what's going to wind up happening. You put equity in another guy, and unless he's a Jalen Hurts, someone from a better program that's on the transfer portal, that he's got the talent, he's got the skill set, and all of that. Unless you got somebody like that you can get, then you're probably going to take a step back if it's not Skelton. So I think Dawson Odums is in no man's land. I think the only thing that's really helping his cause is the fact that this is the second year of his new deal. I know there's probably going to be a little bit of pressure on him to take this team to the championship game, and if he doesn't, then some people are saying it's time to go. I don't agree with that either, because again, unless you take a major step back, and I mean, you lose 3 in a row to Grambling, you lose to Alcorn, you stumble up against Jackson, and instead of in contention for the East, you're in the middle of the pack, then you've taken a step back. I mean, we're just kind of going in the future here, but as long as he's on this path in which his team is getting to the championship game, playing for the division title, I think Dawson Odums is fine. But I think just the emotions of the moment right now, it's just a tough pill to swallow. And this is a tough one. 6 turnovers, 5 straight times to open the game. You're in Braves territory. You can't really get a whole lot done. I think that hurts. But that also shows that you can get there. It's just a matter of finishing. And you still got a relatively young quarterback. And I think Skelton still has to continue to learn. This guy's won 3 championships at high school and JUCO. He knows what it's about in terms of winning. Now, this is a different level, but I still think he gives you the better chance because of the fact that he can beat you with his legs. I mean, McDaniel's a different dynamic. He's got the arm, and he can run a little bit, but he's not Skelton. And if you're going to get a guy that's just a sitting duck back there, unless your O-line can hold up, then your offense is going to struggle with that as well. So I think for me personally, and again, I'm a football fan. Of course, I'm happy that the Braves won, but just looking at the game and looking at Southern University and where they are, I think Dawson Odums is kind of caught in no man's land right now, considering what's happened the last 2 years. Ever so close, but can't get over the hump.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough off season in a lot of camps throughout the conference, but in particular that at Jag Nation. Now, let's move forward a little bit now. You're getting up to meet with another, what I'm calling a Teflon Don, and that is North Carolina A&T. Both of you guys are proven heavyweight fighters. You take people's best shots and you find a way to be the last man standing. Got something to owe them, and there's a lot of pressure on the Southwestern Athletic Conference to start evening this contest up. And when I speak of the contest, I'm talking about that of the Celebration Bowl. I know it's early, still got a couple weeks out. What are some of the obvious things that are standing out for you as far as the Braves having success with this Washington-led Aggie team?
Well, the one thing that I did see in the stat line in their last game, they ran for over 300 yards, I think 369 against Central. And what I saw is that only 2 receivers caught passes. One, I think, caught 8 for 107, and maybe another caught a couple for 30 yards or whatever it was. The Aggies ran for almost 400 yards. So they're going to run that football. And just like Southern has, and just like we've seen with Jordan Bentley and Prairie View and DeWanya Tucker, teams are going to try to run it downhill on the Braves. And that's what, Cedric Thornton, the Braves DC, is going to have to deal with. Ground and pound. They're going to run it downhill. So the Braves defensively, that line is going to have to shore up and hold up because A&T is going to try to chew up yards, chew up clock, and run the football and wear you out. That's kind of what I see right now. It's the early read, just looking at the numbers that I saw earlier. I'll be looking more into it here in the coming days to kind of get a sense. But look, I mean, it's going to be a situation, the intangibles as well, this rest versus rust factor. You know, A&T, by the time the Celebration Bowl kicks off, it'll be almost a month since they played. It'll be 2 weeks since we played. So rest versus rust, the Braves are in kind of a good rhythm right now where A&T hadn't played in almost a month. That could play a factor, especially early in the game as they knock the kinks out. So, I mean, and you're right when you say that just like Southern has struggled with us, we've struggled in the Celebration Bowl. The SWAC has struggled in the Celebration Bowl. And it's a little bit different dynamic. I think, you know, on the MEAC side, it's a little bit more in the trenches. It's a little bit more up front, offensive and defensive lines. I mean, you talk about the skilled players. I mean, one of the better players that we've seen in the Celebration Bowl is Tariq Cohen, who ran for 300 yards against us a few years back. And, of course, Tariq Cohen is at the next level playing for the Bears. So I think this game's going to be won and lost in the trenches for real. And I'm not saying that hasn't been the case all year, but this is one of those, the Braves' defensive line is literally going to have to win that battle to at least slow down the running attack and make A&T a passing team as compared to a running team. If that's the case, then the Braves will be in the game, and then it'll be up to offensively protect the football. You know, Felix Harper had a couple of interceptions, and we had a fumble last night. We're going to have to, and we've been turning the ball over here the past few games. You got to cut that down. And in special teams, of course, it was a 95-yard kickoff return that decided the Celebration Bowl last year. So, I mean, there's a lot of dynamics here. There's a lot of moving pieces. But, you know, with 26 seniors, you got a veteran team that's been here before, that's been to the championship game, that's won the division, that's been to the Celebration Bowl. This is the last item on the bucket list for Alcorn, and we'll see if they can get that pencil. We know what the box looks like, but that pencil weighs 1,000 pounds. You got to pick up that pencil to check it off. If you can't pick that pencil up, you can't check off the box.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
I think that's where the Braves are right now. I mean, it's easy to check that box off your bucket list, but you got to find something to write with, check it off, and that pen or pencil feels like 1,000 pounds right now because without that, you can't check it off.
Well, look,
so I think that's where we are right now.
I think more or less remove the pencil. Let's put it in with a Sharpie. Something Something that's going to be permanent. Now, here's what I think, and you made mention of it in your last statement. There are two different styles of ball that are played in the SWAC and the MEAC, and in order for the conference, there's been a lot of buzz and a lot of conversation about the upgrades that's necessary for the conference as a whole. And do you think that we need to start structuring our programs to be able to extend ourselves beyond the SWAC, or is the SWAC good enough? Because when I think of MEAC play, I think of physical, ground and pound, 3 yards in a cloud of dust. When I think SWAC play, I think finesse, trick play, and I guess for better, in a feline world, the SWAC is that cheetah, that lean, fast cat, and the MEAC is that lion. He's the king of the jungle. He's heavy. He's not going to be able to keep up as much, but when he catches hold to you, you can pretty much consider yourself done.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with that. I mean, it's just a different style. It's just a different dynamic, you know, over in the MEAC side. We don't play the MEAC teams too often, you know, in football, and it is different. I mean, Southern played Florida A&M this year, and you know, there are a few other matchups you could think of, but you know, even in that game, I mean, the Jaguars led that game and kind of let it slip away. But I think it in the MEAC, it's more blue collar. It's not a whole lot of razzle dazzle. It's coming right at you. We're coming right at you, and what are you going to do about it? And I think that's kind of what A&T has been, since they've been in the Celebration Bowl. I mean, it's been, they won a 9-3 game against Grambling. So it's one of those things where the physicality of this A&T team is going to be the key. The Braves have to find a way to get penetration up front defensively, because I think that's the big matchup. A&T's offense, which is going to be 90% run, versus the Braves' defensive line. And, Southern was wearing us out early. I mean, 5 straight times in our territory, running the football with Ben, Skelton mixing it in. I mean, so, that's something we're going to have to clean up here in the next 10 days before we head to Atlanta if we're going to have some success against the Aggies.
The thing that irritates me about the spread RPO offense that seems to have gone hog wild these days is once you get into the red zone, you're limited. You're absolutely limited. What they're considering big packages today is a joke. There is no tough inside running. I think that's the Achilles heel of the RPO offense.
Yep, when it's great in between the 20s. But when you get inside the 20, that's where the chess match comes in, and that's where it's a little bit harder. And I think, this Braves defense has found ways to get off the field and limit teams to field goals. And I think that's what's going to happen again. Bend but don't break. I mean, but again, you got a quarterback in A&T that can beat you with his feet. They've got a power running game, and I don't think A&T is going to do anything fancy. I mean, if they run it between the 20s, they're going to run it inside the 20. And I expect, I think the Braves are going to probably burn a couple of timeouts on defense in the Celebration Bowl just to settle the defense down. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, you have to do what you have to do to slow the game down if that's what's happening.
You sure can't take them home with you neither, right?
No, you can't. I mean, there's a team that just took 3 timeouts home with them.
Right.
And, not trying to joke about it. I mean, it is very tough if you're a Jaguar fan, if you're a football fan, if you watch the game, and you just see how Southern was able to get things done and couldn't cash in on some great opportunities. And I think this one's going to sting a little while. But, I think for the Celebration Bowl, I mean, the Braves are going to have to be clean on special teams. We missed a field goal that, McCullough's, our kicker's not 100%, and he missed a field goal. So I think all those little things, when you have a team that's had a month off, is going to be huge. And, emotionally, how much do we have in the tank?
Right.
Getting over this game, and this is something that, Coach Fobbs talked about a couple of years back. I don't think Dawson Odoms has commented on it, but the whole idea of the Bayou Classic being a week before the championship game, he kind of expressed a few years ago some frustration about that because you're coming off a big game and then a week later, boom, you're in your conference championship game. Now, that's not going to change. I mean, unless the Bayou Classic is pushed back a week, which is not going to happen. It's only happened once in 31 years, and that was the last time Grambling made the playoffs because in 1988, Grambling made the 1AA playoff at the time because the Bayou Classic just happened to be a week earlier than usual. That allowed Grambling to make the playoffs because they were in it, because of the fact that they were available to be in it. But that's the last time the Classic's been that early. That's been 30 years ago now. It's not going to happen anytime soon. I think there'll be a massive riot on both Southern's and Grambling's campus if the Bayou Classic is played any other time than when it is right now. But look, the Braves have time to get healthy. I was talking with Coach McNair today. We had a basketball game on campus, and he's just kind of exhaling and just now kind of getting over what happened yesterday. And he was in a meeting tonight. He wasn't talking about Southern. He was getting with his coaches and trying to get the game plan together for how to beat A&T. So already, you're kind of turning the page and moving on. And that's easier said, hard to do, but Fred McNair's been good at it ever since he's been here, and I think that will continue.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And it's going to be an exciting game. Now, you know that you got our 1,000% support because you're representing the Southwestern Athletic Conference. Not that we don't want the Aggies to have a productive game, but not too productive that they are victorious over the Braves. And I think if anybody can get it done, The Braves have not only the staff and personnel-wise, but they got the moxie to get it done. They don't blink, if you would. As my old Mike Tomlin coach says, he cuts off the eyelids and dare them to blink and just go and face this thing down, and let's do what we have to do. We minimize the turnovers and take advantage of special team opportunities. I think this could be the year of the Braves.
It could be. And you know, with 26 seniors, a veteran group that's been to championship games, that's won division titles, they've done everything but win this game, and I think they're going to pour every ounce of their soul into this game. The MEAC has dominated so far, whether it's the SWAC MEAC Challenge or the Celebration Bowl. It's time for the SWAC to get a win, and I think with this veteran bunch, with this senior-laden bunch, we can definitely get it done.
Well, it's been said, my friend. Look, we are hit the top of the hour. It's time for us to shut down for tonight. But we're going to have to continue this because we didn't get a chance to go deep into our MVP as far as quarterbacks of the conference. And how dare you renege on our homeboy, Mr. Glass. He was by far. But we know how that goes. Congratulations to Mr. Harper and to a heck of a season yet again, my friend, and continue to do the wonderful work that you do on that microphone.
Appreciate it. I'm looking forward to that conversation, too, about the MVP race. I think there's a lot to unpack with that in terms of who votes and how, you know, who has opportunity to vote, SIDs and coaches. Not a lot of media is involved with it. So there's a lot to talk about, and I think that's going to change at some point in time because I think this year's ballot was a lot of conversation about how this is done, and I think Dr. McClellan's going to hear that, and I do think over a period of time, in short order, I think there will be some changes in terms of how these postseason teams are being voted on and who has an opportunity to vote.
All right, my friend, we look forward to that conversation. Charles Edmond, the voice of the Alcorn State Braves, getting things done on tonight. We are done for tonight. I want to thank our guests for being able to be a part of us. Of course, Tall Man Radio, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn Sports Network, Johnny Football Code, our SWAC football sports analysis, and you, the listener. I am the radio guy, Dr. Mike Prince. Thank you guys always. Remember our social media handle for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or at The Mike Prince Show. And you can always check us out Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, right here at the Open Mic Broadcast Network. I've got the exit stage left. Until the next time, you guys be blessed, and we'll see you on the other side. Good night.